Can we get an adjective? You in the front.
Stinky.
Stinky. All right, can I get an adjective ending in ing? You in the middle row.
Dying.
Yes, that's it. An abstract noun. You on the left?
Entropy.
Entropy for 20 seconds. Good one. All right, can I get a food? You in the front?
Chicken cutlet.
Chicken cutlet. A mysterious substance. You in the front?
Ectoplasm.
Ooh.
White ectoplasm.
Incredible. Nice one. And a condiment. You on the right? Mayo. Let's go. All right, a plural noun. You on the left? Gooses. Gooses.
Wait.
Geese. We're on this gooses, geese, meese, moose.
I like gooses.
I guess we're publishing on Wattpad now. All right, a piece of clothing. Yes, you?
Panties.
Panties.
Oh, God.
That was picked last time as
I
well.
was gonna say bang.
Might as well.
Okay, last one. A generic male name. You in the front?
James.
James. Let's go.
Wait.
All right.
What it's stinky.
Oh God. Scene 5.
Twilight and Whisks McAlpha trudge through the winding stairs. Trudge through the winding stairs of the back rooms. The buzzing of the stinky lights overhead grew louder with every step. Their flickers syncing oddly with Twilight's dying thoughts. So, what exactly is down here? Twilight asked, her voice bouncing off the walls. Whisks McAlpha glanced at her, his blender blade slowing as it contemplated the question. Legends speak of many horrors. Overworked customer service workers, sentient IKEA furniture, an army of terrible Facebook memes that haunt your every thought. But mostly, it's the smell of entropy, and sometimes chicken cutlet. Twilight grimaced. Well, whatever it is, I'll find a way out. Friendship always prevails. Unless there's paperwork. Then it usually takes 2 or 3 business days. They turned a corner into a vast, dimly lit chamber. Twilight stopped dead in her tracks. Before them was a giant pit of white ectoplasm, its surface bubbling like a giant cauldron. The air smelled vaguely of expired mayonnaise. A large, hand-painted sign hung over the pit, written in ominous red letters, "The void of bad decisions." Whisks McAlpha whirled to a stop beside her. This is the void. You don't want to fall in there. It's where all your worst choices go. Your worst choices and cringe gooses go to fester and multiply. Twilight's eyes widened. Like that one time I tried to give a friendship speech to a group of wild manticores and it ended in a full-blown manticore musical number about being friend-zoned? Whisks McAlpha nodded gravely. Exactly. The void's greatest power is dragging up the worst possible moments you've tried to forget. As if on cue, a terrible, cringe-worthy memory rose from the depths of the pit. An enormous floating image of Twilight dressed in her old punk rock outfit from when she was a filly, complete with knee-high Converse and too much black eyeliner. "Oh no, not that!" Twilight shouted, covering her eyes in embarrassment. "That's the worst thing I've ever worn!" Suddenly, another figure appeared beside them, emerging from the shadows of the chamber. A tall, shadowy figure wearing a glittery panties and an oversized pair of sunglasses. The figure had the aura of someone who tried just a little too hard to be cool, but ended up failing miserably. "Greetings," the figure said, with a voice that was trying very hard to be deep and mysterious. "I am the keeper of bad decisions, but you can call me James." Twilight blinked in confusion. James? What's with the bit?" James shrugged. "This is my greatest regret. I bought it online thinking it was a vintage fashion statement. Turns out it's just tacky." Whisks McAlpha let out a metallic sigh. "James, always with the bad decisions." James snapped his fingers dramatically, causing the floating image of Twilight's childhood embarrassment to dissipate back into the pit. "I see you're looking to move on to the next level," he said with a flourish of his glittery cape. "To pass, you must face your worst decision and embrace it." Twilight cringed. "Do I have to? I've worked very hard to suppress that." Embrace it, young, four-legged creature, James said, striking a dramatic pose. Only then will the path be clear. Twilight swallowed hard and looked over at the pit, where a new image began to form. A memory she had tried so hard to forget. The time she accidentally turned all of Ponyville's pets into balloon animals during a magic experiment gone wrong. It was a disaster that nearly cost her 2 friendships and a very expensive insurance payout. How did it have to be at the same time of the Great Porcupine Migration? She took a deep breath. All right, fine. Twilight squared her shoulders, forcing herself to look at the cringeworthy memory. I admit it, I messed up. That was one of my worst decisions. The memory flickered for a moment, then popped like a balloon, disappearing into the void. James clapped his hands with an exaggerated flair. Well done! You have embraced the cringe and survived the worst of the void of bad decisions. I'll admit, I've seen worse, much worse. James shuddered. A small door appeared in the far wall, leading to the next level. Twilight wiped a bit of sweat from her brow. That was oddly cathartic. What about you, Wisps? What was your worst decision? Wisp McElpha looked into the pit for a long moment before muttering, I regret inventing Illinois. A multi-level marketing fraud. Twilight smiled, feeling oddly lighter. Thanks, James. I'll be sure to make slightly fewer bad decisions in the future. Good luck, James said, waving his glittery cape dramatically. May your cringe be minimal and your regrets few. As Twilight and Wisp McElpha stepped through the door, the dying lights faded behind them, replaced by the eerie silence of the next level. Twilight couldn't help but feel a twinge of hope. If she could survive the void of bad decisions, then maybe, just maybe, she could make it through the rest of the back rooms. But one thing was clear, it was gonna get weirder from here. Twilight sparkled, floating somewhere between dimensions, recites dramatically to the void. Has Spike yet cleaned the tea? Shall I ever return to Ponyville? Did I forget to turn the oven off? Suddenly, the scene freezes, and an enthusiastic narrator cuts in, the voice brimming with excitement and pride. Oh my gosh, you guys! Thank you so much for 100K hits! This story wouldn't be here without you! Don't forget to leave comments and kudos. You know I live for them. I love you all so much! Another message flashes across the screen like a hastily typed edit. OMG, Mom! I'm famous! The lights flicker for a moment, and the scene turns to Twilight, still deep in her soliloquy. Next chapter soon, she whispers to the void. Then the screen flashes with one last edit. P.S. The next chapter is out now, so hurry and read before the portal closes. The scene fades back in, with Twilight still floating dramatically in the ether, unsure of what any of that just meant. Anyway, guys, crazy update. I got custody 4 years later.
I love the crazy updates.
All right, we need a feeling.
Melancholy.
Melancholy. All right, we need a fake swear word.
Fudge nuggets.
Sure. All right, we need a noun.
Nuclear waste barrel.
All right, we need a specific height. You ready?
0 feet 10 or 4 inches.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, just 4 inches.
4 inches. 4 inches.
Oh no.
All right, we need an adjective ending in ed.
Defenestrated.
Yes! Yes!
Twilight sparkled, having narrowly escaped the void of bad decisions, continued down the hallway with Wisps McAlpha by her side. The floor beneath them felt unstable, the walls vibrating slightly as if from a distant gas leak. She noticed a faint sign in the distance. Gas leak, gatekeep, girl boss. A sense of melancholy swept over her. What the fudge nuggets does that even mean? She asked out loud. As if summoned by the words, a figure emerged from the shadows. A tall, impeccably dressed woman in a tight Chanel suit with an aura of sheer, big nuclear waste barrel energy. Her hair was sleek, her eyes sharp, and her smirk absolutely condescending. Who dares trespass in my domain? She purred, standing at a commanding 0 feet 4 inches. While somehow making Twilight a proud 4'1" pony. feel so much smaller.
He's like, I can squash you with my
Twilight puffed up her chest. I'm here to make friends, spread joy, and escape this weird place. Her voice defenestrated slightly. But she held her ground. The woman stepped closer, grabbed Twilight's human wrist tightly, though awkwardly, because Twilight was still mostly a pony. Listen here, small pony, she said in a low voice. This is the realm of girl bosses only. We gaslight, gatekeep, and girl boss our way through everything. Twilight quirked a brow. That sounds exhausting. The woman smirked, her eyes glinting dangerously. It's a lifestyle. All right.
Good. Oh, excellent.
Lisa Frank. Let's go. No AI here. Okay. Can I get an adjective? Anyone who hasn't given one that wants to yet? Team Rocket? Silent. A canned food item. You in the back?
Spam.
Spam. Let's go. All right. An adjective ending in ER. Okay, you in the middle.
Deader.
Deader? Deader. Okay.
Dead.
Sounds like a trend.
Nice comparative.
Remember, this is going on Wattpad. It's okay.
After somehow befriending the silent girl boss, whose name was Tiffany, Twilight, Wisp McAlpha, and their new badass friend ventured deeper into the back rooms. Suddenly, they found themselves in a neon-lit arcade that appeared to have been abandoned for decades. The air was thick with the scent of stale pizza and, oddly, spam. Twilight stopped, her heart skipping a beat as she noticed a peculiar figure sitting in a broken swivel chair. It was none other than Sans Undertale, wearing a hoodie far too large for him. His skeletal figure slouched like he was bored out of his mind. Twilight blinked. Sans? Sans looked up from his empty eye sockets and grinned lazily. Sup, pony? You lost? Wisp McAlpha groaned. Oh, brother, not this guy. Twilight trotted forward. Actually, I'm trying to make friends so I can get back home. Want to join me? Sans chuckled, his grin growing deader. Sure, why not? I've got nothing better to do. But, what's with the girl boss? Tiffany, who was clearly triggered, folded her arms over her chest. I prefer to think of myself as a powerful woman. It's called big nuclear waste barrel energy. I don't understand, skeleton. Sans shrugged. Chill, I'm just here for the crack fig. Besides, I don't see you winning any Tumblr Sexy Man award. Twilight's smile widened. Great, another friend. She glanced back at Sans as he trailed behind. By the way, do you have any idea why this place smells like spam? Sans winked. I don't know, but I wouldn't eat anything here if I were you. Twilight blushed profusely, realizing that her nervous snack stash, entirely composed of canned spam, had burst in her friendship cloak. Oops.
Alright, guys. If you haven't given a word yet, this is the time. This is our last scene.
Alright. Alright, we need a synonym for friend.
Anyone who hasn't given one yet, who wants to. Okay, it's free game now.
Alright.
Comrade.
Alright. Yeah, that's what we got last time. People like that. Alright, feeling.
That was my
Spinal fluid.
Alright, adjective.
Turgid.
turgid.
What? Turgid? Turgid. Noun.
Cancer.
Oh.
God, I was gonna say rabies.
Savage.
Oh my god, okay.
With Sans now in tow, Twilight's crew grew stronger, albeit stranger. But nothing could have prepared her for the next encounter. As Twilight and her comrades entered the room, a room plastered with legal documents and contracts, they came face to face with the none other than Light Yagami, who was definitely not added to replace a certain controversial political commentator. He stood by a desk stacked with papers, holding a contract with the logo of TurboTax stamped on the top. Even Light is not immune from the IRS, despite living in Japan and being 17. Do I smell a beta male? Tiffany's nose scrunched up and horny. Light peered down at Twilight. Light peered down at Twilight. I see you've wandered into the realm of justice and true judgment, he said, tapping the contract. Care to test your fate? Twilight stared in confusion. Test my fate? The superiority of facts over feelings, of course, he said smugly, taking a drink from his liberal spinal fluids tumbler. The truth is absolute, and only those who understand true justice can. He paused, his gaze darkening. Wait, you don't happen to be working with a certain detective, would you? Sans leaned over to Twilight to whisper, I wouldn't do it. That's how you end up with your name in the wrong places, and no amount of TurboTax can help you escape that. Twilight, ever turgid, decided on a different approach. Actually, Mr. Yagami, I was wondering if you might want to come to Ponyville and join us for the Friendship Festival? Light frowned, glancing down at the stack of contracts. I'm not one for frivolous friendships, but I suppose, who am I to judge ponies celebrating their friendships? Who are any of us to judge? Why do I do this? He was silent, experiencing a rare moment of introspection and self-awareness. That ended quickly, however, and he clasped his hands together once more. Perhaps I could consider it. After all, controlling the world through kindness instead of fear, that's just another form of power. Twilight sighed. Let's just agree that friendship is an evolving strategy? Light hesitated, then smirked. Fair enough, I'll come. But don't expect me to join in any sing-alongs and parade around the cancer. At last, with the girl boss, Sans, Whisked McAlpha, and even Light Yagami now and her motley crew of friends, Twilight stood before a swirling portal. It led back to Ponyville, where the Friendship Festival awaited her triumphant return. The portal shimmered with rainbow lights, its edges flickering like an old CRT monitor on the verge of breaking. But just before they stepped through, the cardboard cutout of Elton John, the same one Twilight had narrowly avoided in an earlier level, floated down from the ceiling. It grinned. Leaving without me? Twilight smiled warmly. Of course not. I never forget a friend. The cutout, which had now inexplicably grown a pair of proud, large, erect antlers, floated down to join the group. Let's do this, it said with an air of determination. Twilight gathered her friends, feeling the strange yet comforting presence of each of them around her. All right, every pony, let's go home. The group stepped through the portal together, and with a flash of light, Twilight found herself back in Ponyville, just in time for the Friendship Festival. The town's ponies gasped as they saw her arrival, flanked by a girl boss, a kitchen utensil, a skeleton, a not political commentator, and a cardboard cutout. Twilight beamed with pride. Every pony, meet my new friends! Sam looked around at the cheerful festival decorations. This place sure beats the back rooms. Where's the pizza? Tiffany flipped her hair, confident as ever. I can get used to this. Even Light Yagami, though skeptical of the whole ordeal, couldn't help but feel a sense of reluctant camaraderie. As the Friendship Festival began, Twilight smiled, knowing that no matter how strange or unconventional, friends could be found anywhere, even in the weirdest corners of the universe. And with that, Twilight Sparkle had successfully made friends and returned to the Friendship Festival with the most bizarre entourage Ponyville had ever seen. Wait, where's Spike? The end. We will not be publishing this, thank you.
Not on laptop. Not on Facebook. You coward.
it goes.
Yeah, that's the point. Is it's gonna disintegrate in the next 5 years.
Wow.